Welcome to Milford, New York and the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley Railroad. Tonight we'll be riding the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley Railroad's Brooks Barbecue Dinner Train excursion. This train is an evening train comprised of a dinner from Brooks Barbecue in Oneonta, New York. We'll travel about 5 miles on the former Delaware and Hudson Cooperstown branch line from Milford to Cooperstown Dreams Park, right outside of Cooperstown, New York. But before we do that, let's discuss the history of the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley. In 1868, work on the Cooperstown and Susquehanna Valley Railroad begun. However, the first train did not run until July 14th of 1869. The road was originally 6 feet broad gauge to be compatible with the Albany and Susquehanna. On May 28, 1876, the entire line was narrowed up to standard gauge, 4 feet 8.5 inches. In 1888, the Cooperstown and Susquehanna Valley Railroad would receive a name change to the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley Railroad. In 1903, the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley Railroad would become owned by the Delaware and Hudson Railroad. Now under new ownership, the CACV would become the Delaware and Hudson's Cooperstown branch line. The D&H's main focus for the Cooperstown branch line was freight traffic, and in 1934, passenger trains ceased to operate on the CACV. Under D&H ownership, and especially in the 1950s, locomotives common to find on the Cooperstown branch line were the RS3s and the S series of locomotives. Unfortunately, in the 1960s, traffic was declining under D&H ownership, and a new owner was desperately needed. In 1970, the portion of the line between Cooperstown Junction and Cooperstown, New York, was sold to the Delaware Otsego Corporation. Delaware Otsego resurrected the Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley name. This was the first time the name had been used since 1903, when the D&H took over. Also under Delaware and Otsego ownership, the Cooperstown Charlotte Valley will build a new locomotive maintenance facility and depot in Milford, New York. In the 1970s, the CACV used an ex-Virginia and Blue Ridge Railroad 060 steam locomotive for excursion services until 1974, and then diesels handled the excursions after that. The excursion trains would start to die off in the mid-1980s though. Also dying off at the time was the CACV's freight service. The last Cooperstown and Charlotte Valley freight train ran in December of 1987. However, all hope was not lost, as in 1996, the Leatherstocking chapter of the National Railway Historical Society gained ownership of the CACV. Much work had to be done before seasonal passenger operations began back up in 1999, and they have continued up until the modern day in 2025. Alright, now that that's over with, I believe our train is about to depart. So let's rush back to the present.
What's what?
You can tell the train robbery was earlier today because I got the seats set up.
Charlotte Valley Railroad, I want to welcome you aboard tonight's dinner train. I have some safety rules to go over with you, as we always do. You're now on a moving train. And after you get done with your dinners and your desserts, you will be able to move about that train. We do ask that you use caution. As you're passing through the cars and between the cars, keep in mind that there are steps going up each one of the cars, so do watch out for that. If you're by an open window on this rather warm evening, or out in the open car, or on the ends of any of the cars, please keep all body parts inside the train at all times. We do have some branches that are close to the train, and we also go through a couple of bridges. So again, please keep all body parts.
Milepost C6. As we continue to roll along the branch, let's talk about the locomotive that's shoving our train tonight. CACV 102 was built in October of 1950 for the Delaware and Hudson Railway as their number 3050. In 1969, the D&H would sell number 3050 to the Green Mountain Railroad, and it became Green Mountain Railroad number 305. 305's time on the Green Mountain would only last until 1985, when it was purchased by Bombardier in that year. Sometime later, it was purchased by the Washington County Railroad and renumbered to 406, and then it was acquired by the Claremont and Concord Railroad, and at some point was renumbered to number 102. In 2017, the 102 was bought by a private owner and donated to the Cooperstown and Charles Valley Railroad. As of 2025, 102 continues to run on the Cooperstown branch line, fitting as this is a former Delaware and Hudson locomotive. Right here, this is why Cooperstown is such the tourist attraction it is. We're talking baseball and the Mets. Okay, not really, just baseball. The Baseball Hall of Fame is here. And then you got all these fields here that teams from around the world would love to play at. The baseball capital of the world. And it's been a pretty good summer to play baseball. It's been very dry this year. Nothing like a summer evening, Brooks Barbecue, riding on the D&H Cooperstown branch. The next D&H locomotive, 3050, now 102, shoving your train backwards, and D&H 35723 as the lead. Dream Park. I hope I don't get hit by a baseball out here. Batting cages right there. Look at all the kids lined up. All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot!
Watching on YouTube. the CACV's newest cars acquired from the Finger Lakes Railroad, but this car served on the N&W. And it is fancy smancy compared to the other cars. A lot brighter too. I could spend all night on this car. Said it once and I said it again. I don't need a DeLorean to feel like I'm back in time.
In March 2025, the CACV would acquire cars 10,001 and 4701 from the Finger Lakes Railway, and they would be transferred from the Finger Lakes to Milford, New York. Both of these cars can trace their roots back to the N&W, the Norfolk and Western. Here we see them on Norfolk Southern train K86, heading for their new home in Milford.
Rev up. One of my favorite sounds right here when they rev up the prime mover. Yep, we did.
What?
Yeah. Canadian National S7 number 8223. The only one of the surviving class of 28 S7s built for Canadian National by the Montreal Locomotive Works.
series.